Okay, so we're going to get into a group that is not animals, not plants, and not protists. It is often ignored when talking about the diversity of organisms, but it's very abundant and very important to many ecological processes, which is fungi. Now, you probably recognize them by their fruiting bodies, these mushrooms, but actually fungi are quite much more diverse in their structural integrity of the ecosystem than just these fruiting bodies, which are their reproductive structures. All right, there are approximately 1.5 million species of fungi, and they, similar to protists, can be single-celled or multicellular, and can reproduce sexually or asexually. They are very specialized to extract and absorb nutrients from their surroundings, and they are more closely related to animals than they are to plants, although they do share some characteristics. They shared a common ancestor with animals 460 to 670 million years ago. Fungi are made of 7 monophyletic fungi, which are often identified, at least some of the major groups, by their fruiting bodies. But we're not going to let you... Oh, and then there's one polyphyletic group, the zygomycotes. But we're not going to go too in-depth as far as knowing these and the characteristics of them, but we are going to generally talk about fungi as a group. So multicellular fungi have these long, slender filaments called hyphae. Okay, so here's one down here, a hyphae. Some of them are continuous, and some of them are divided by septa. So here is a septum, which is dividing these two separate cells, but some of them don't have these septa in them, and so the differences in the cells are not well defined. But the cytoplasm are allowed to flow throughout the filamentous hyphae, and this allows for rapid growth under ideal conditions. So when most fungi are opportunistic, when conditions are right, they will grow as fast as they can. A very competitive colonizing species. A massive connected hyphae form a mycelium. Okay, so this is the visual part. You can see a mycelium growing on bread, right? That's a fungus which has been feeding off of your bread that you left out. Fungal cells also have cell walls, which are not structurally the same as plants. Plants have cellulose, and chitin is slightly different. It's modified, and it has proteins found within it, which is also found within the hard skells of exoskeletons and arthropods, so another reason why they are more closely related than with plants. It externally secretes its enzymes for digestion, and so it's able to grow through and digest its substrate as it secretes those enzymes, breaks things down, and then absorbs the nutrients. Fungi have hyphae that may have more than one nucleus, like we talked about before, septate and continuous mycelium. If it has one nucleus, it's called monokaryotic. If it has 2 nuclei, it's dikaryotic. And generally, dikaryotic organisms have 2 haploid nuclei. Both genomes are transcribed, and it will sometimes continue to go through mitosis with these 2 separate nuclei for a period of time. Fungi have an unusual mitosis compared to animals. The cell is not the relevant unit of reproduction. Instead, the nucleus is more important, but it doesn't break down and reform like it does in animals. Instead, the spindle apparatus is formed within it, and it is not formed by centrioles. Instead, it's called spindle plaques that regulate the microtubules forming during mitosis. Fungi can reproduce sexually or asexually. Sexual reproduction is not male and female. It's rather compatible mating types. So there may be many different types of compatible mating pairings. And what happens is the two cells, which are compatible and haploid, will then fuse together. And some will immediately fuse their nuclei together and have that diploid cell, or that dikaryotic or heterokaryotic stage where you have two haploid nucleus together, but not converging. They may also form these mushrooms or puffballs, which are the fruiting bodies. Spores are the most common means of reproduction, creating these spores that then disperse away through the wind. And these spores can form from both sexual or asexual processes. So it can be a process of this fusion and then creating a fruiting body, or it can be a haploid spore that can also form. Most are dispersed by wind. Like I said before, it obtains food by secreting digestive enzymes into its surroundings and then absorbing those as they are externally digested. They have a great surface area to volume ratio, and the fungi can even break down cellulose and lignin, which are very hard to break down for most animals. So they are very important as decomposers in the environment. Some of them are also carnivorous, so they will actually attack and eat other animals. Fungi are very important as mutualists in a few different associations. They help to decompose a lot of the material in the environment. They break down cellulose and lignin from wood, which releases carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus back into the environment. They are also wrong way, pathogens, so they will infect plants through different varieties of infections, such as corn smut. I don't have a picture of that. They are also parasites for humans, so they form ringworm and athlete's foot. And these mutualistic associations include lichen, which is a fungi and a bacteria, photosynthetic bacteria, or other photosynthetic organism. And they also form associations with leafcutter ants. So they will go and leafcutter ants will gather these plants and farm the fungi. They will eat the fungi, and the fungi will actually eat decomposing leaves. Mycorrhizae are another example. These form associations with plant roots to extend the nutrient absorption ability of the plants in exchange for sugars from the plant roots. Fungi have also are pathogenic. So one major within the past 20 or 30 years uprising of infections is called chytrid fungus, which has killed many amphibian species worldwide and has led to the decimation of many of their populations. Here is a bunch of frogs which are susceptible to chytrid fungus. And that's all for fungi.